Let's face it, business technology is frustrating and complex. So how do you make sure it works for your team? To make IT right, start the discussion at go-domain.com. You're listening to Discussions by Domain, a podcast for business leaders. Our discussions may be with people you've probably heard of before, but the majority of our guests are in the trenches, professionals like you and I, with the same challenges and struggles of keeping up in the Northeast. They're implementing strategies, overcoming hurdles. They're leading the fastest growing businesses in our region. My name is Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services, and the host of this show. When I'm not talking with business leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of Domain and the ups and downs of our own growth journey, as we intend to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships over at Domain Computer Services. Today, I am welcoming a longtime friend that I met through the Princeton-Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce, Alyssa McCabe. She is the Managing Director of First Steps Financial, an accounting, bookkeeping, and consulting company in Princeton, New Jersey. Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I am so happy to see you because I never get to see you anymore.
Exactly. Alyssa and I went back and forth almost at every chamber event. We would see each other and link up, and it was really good. So I'm glad we're finally getting you on the podcast here. One thing before we get into the topic today, my wife, Randy, and Alyssa got to have a great conversation this week, and I appreciate Alyssa reaching out and helping another female entrepreneur. But Randy did tell me that you have 6 children and run a massively successful business with a lot of employees. So I wanted to ask you, how do you do it?
I have a really good support system. My husband is amazing, and he is a true partner when it comes to our children. So that has really been helpful. And it's just that I'm passionate about helping small businesses. So being able to juggle both, I'm passionate about raising my kids in a way that I feel strongly about. So I have 2 passions. And I think when you're passionate about things, you just figure out a way to do it. I see a lot of people doing things. You have a lot of things going on. Your wife is amazing. And when you do have that passion, it drives you. And hopefully you can build a support system that helps you too.
That's awesome. Well, you're crushing it on both sides of the coin, and that's amazing. So the topic today is we're going to talk about how small business owners can improve processes and make better decisions based on the financial information that they have. So Alyssa, we talked prior to recording kind of about organizing financials. So maybe you can explain to us what financials should we be organizing or should have, and then how do we go about organizing those financials?
So you are speaking to my accounting nerd side, and I just might get a little crazy on you. So just hold on. So the things that we like to do is we want to organize your financials in a way that reaches your goals. So what we do, to start, maybe a step back, is we actively listen to business owners on what their goals are and what they want to achieve. Then we look at their financials and organize them in a manner that will give them reporting that they need. So what needs to be organized? All your transactions, anything that is related to your business needs to be brought into an accounting system and organized in a way that will produce the reporting that you need to make decisions. So we use QuickBooks Online. And so what we do is we would link your bank accounts, your credit card accounts. We would make sure all the invoicing is done inside of QuickBooks. Every transaction that happens in your business stays in one place. And it's very helpful because, as you know, even in your household or anything else that you do, if you keep the silverware all in one drawer, it's so much easier to find it than putting a fork in every drawer in the kitchen. So that way, so you can understand, like, keeping all your financials in one place. And QuickBooks Online has just gotten so much better over the years. And now it's to the point where you can upload receipts to it. There's so many things that can be done with it. You can put notes on and so the receipt is attached to the transaction, which makes your file auditable by the IRS. There's so many good things to keep you organized. And I can't stress organization enough, because when you're organized, it makes everything else easier. If you get audited by the IRS, or you get a sales tax audit or a labor audit, that is the easiest thing to do when you have everything organized. You send them reports, you can send them receipts that are attached for that, and it's done. And you're done in 10 minutes with an audit that, if your stuff is all over the place, it can eat up your life.
Yeah, I can imagine the stress that if you don't have things organized, like you're mentioning, the amount of stress and panic that goes into that. And then also it's taking you away from running your business.
Right. What your goals are. Nobody goes into business to do the financial side of it, except for my company.
Yeah.
But most people, when they start a business, if it's an IT business, they really want to help people with their IT and make sure it runs smoothly, and make sure that they're supporting the growth that's going to happen with technology. We're not going, oh, I can't wait to invoice and reconcile my bank statement.
Yeah.
So, it's understandable. So many business owners really ignore this side of it, but it is something that needs to be taken care of. And we are more than happy to help. And really, if you can, even if you get started, and don't be worried about it not looking so good, because it's okay. You can't be good.
Exactly. So let's dig in a little bit more on kind of the negative aspect, right? If we don't have our financials organized, and we then can't run our business. You talked to me a little bit about business owners are kind of afraid of their financials, and even potentially embarrassed of what they have going on. Talk to us about some of the clients you've helped with those types of emotions going through this process.
So that actually was something that I found surprising. When we started 10 years ago, I was amazed that people were embarrassed about not being able to do their finances. And I would always tell them, look, we have doctors, lawyers, hair salons. And I would tell them, really, do you expect me to be able to do hair? Or do you expect me to be able to perform surgery? Like, it's just not, you can't expect someone to be good at everything. So it's one of those things where I really try to let them know, don't worry about it. It's something we can teach you what you need to know. And I think that's probably the most important thing, that anybody who's worried about their finances, find somebody you can talk to. Whether it's, whether you have a business or even doing financial planning, find somebody that you feel like you can be open with, and they talk to you on your level. They don't talk above you. They don't talk below you. They talk to you, and you like them. You have to like them too, because finances are so personal.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some hard conversations about things. And we have told business owners, like, you can't spend money on that, because it's not in your budget. It doesn't benefit you. It's an impulse buy, and they're hard conversations to have. So make sure that you find someone that you really like, and that will lessen that fear of your financial stuff, because then you feel like you can talk to somebody, and that's what you really need to have. You really need to have somebody that you can go to. It's like being afraid of your doctor. Like, if you're afraid of your doctor, he can't help you.
Exactly. So in terms of like organization, I feel like it probably starts around getting some sort of processes into place and streamlining those processes. What is a typical process that you can streamline, or you help your clients streamline, to get more organized and wrap up the financials?
So one of our favorite things to do is improve cash flow. Who doesn't love more cash?
Yeah.
So what we do is, anybody that does invoicing, for example, IT companies do managed services. So we would come into their their accounting program, and we would create a process for them where managed services, because it's almost the same amount every month, it's very, very close. We would have it set up as a recurring invoice, and then the payment would be automatic. So in QuickBooks Online, you can set it up as a sales receipt and collect the customer's information, and it just automatically processes. You can use bill.com to do the same thing. You can use Veeam. There's all these programs that link all together, and it can happen automatically. So what happens when you do that? You have this process and you write it down and make sure it's organized and every step is written down. And then you know exactly how much cash you're going to have when you do those invoices. So for example, my business is recurring. We do a flat rate every month for our clients. We don't charge hourly. So at the first of the month, I knew exactly how much cash flow we have for the whole month. It's never a guess like, oh my God, are we going to make payroll? And I think that helps business owners, not lose sleep and not worry about how they're going to cover what's happening for the month. And so that's probably one of the first things we do, is to help streamline the invoicing process. And that increases cash flow. It allows the business owner to see how much money they're going to have for the month. What are they going to have at the end of the month? And then make a plan for that extra money. Do you reinvest it in the company? Do you do profit sharing for your employees? And I guess, going back to being organized, when you have all these things set up and it's organized, it allows you to make those type of decisions and actually think about them ahead of time to make those decisions.
Exactly. Going through what Domain's most recent, path that we've been on, and to even speak about businesses, whether they're $1 million in top line revenue, 5 million, 10 million, doesn't matter. What we found out, and I think it's pretty well known though, is the cash flow, the EBITDA at the bottom line, right, is really what your business is valued on. So as you're building that business, the cash flow is super important. The profitability, it's amazing what somebody will look at you if you have a 20% EBITDA or, profitability versus a 5 or a 10% or a 0%. Like, it's completely two different numbers. So not that everybody is looking to have a succession plan right this second, but it's something that they should think about, and working with somebody like yourself and your company to get the cash flow right and then do it right for multiple years over and over and over again is going to make your company so much more valuable when you're thinking about succession planning and next steps.
Absolutely. And that's something that you need to really be thinking about. And so again, this is why we have that collaboration. We have a deep discovery call with our clients, and we don't only do one, we continue to do them. We do one at least once a year to find out what your goals are. So like you said, if your goal is succession planning, you're going to sell it, you're going to pass it on. What are you going to do? We know what to do to build it. You start with your processes. Businesses are so much more valuable if you have processes in place. If somebody can walk in and have a turnkey operation, and you have a 20% profit margin, and you have all your ducks in a row, who wouldn't want to walk into that situation? It just makes it much more valuable. And again, it's something to think about as you're running your business. What do you want it to look like? I mean, you have to have a vision of what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, how it's going to live on, and what your goals are for yourself.
Exactly. Another one that I wanted to touch on too. So not only the succession planning and cash flow and what that means to a business, but also you mentioned, what are we going to do with what's left over, right? And I think for a lot of business owners, it's I'm taking the money out, I'm taking my salary, I'm making sure my people are paid, I'm paying the bills and whatnot, and then all of a sudden there's nothing left over. And one of the keys that you hit on, which I loved, which is reinvest into the business. Mm-hmm. And I think strategic decisions, and this kind of go to one of my final questions, is around strategic decisions. And so maybe you can kind of emphasize that, like, what have you seen businesses been able to do when you get cash flow now positive cash flow. And now you can make real decisions about, am I going to grow this business? What decisions I'm going to make here?
So, before you even get to having that cash flow, one of the things that we need to start with is, again, find out what the goals are, but do what your short-term goals are and create a budget for it.
Okay.
And then you create your budget for the year, and then you'll know exactly how much money you're going to have. And then you can decide what to do with that money. So some of the great things that we've seen people do with the money is they buy another company.
Ooh, that's
And
interesting.
Yes, that has been, you search for a business. If you're going to purchase another business, you're buying it either for cash flow, or you're buying it for the people or their processes. And so something that you're lacking, like you might need more people, you might need more really good quality people, and you can purchase another firm and get those, or you might want more clients, increase your revenue, so you buy for that reason. But being able to plan for it and say, okay, at the end of the year, we're going to have X amount of dollars, that's a good down payment on a business. Other things that we've seen people do in their businesses is expand, is to be able to, they have a revenue stream that they haven't been able to explore. It's very profitable on a very small scale, and then they can hire people for that stream, or invest in manufacturing, or whatever it is, to be able to grow that secondary stream.
That's awesome.
If you don't budget for this, and I got to tell you, your wife and I enjoyed the heck out of budgeting. We were geeking out about budgeting because I just did a big presentation on budgeting. And most of the work for budgeting happens before you put the numbers into anything. It's really, really finding out, what do I want to do this year? Do I want to retire? Do I want to spend more time working on the business than in the business? Okay, if you're going to step away from your business, someone has to take over the things that you do. So does that mean that someone in your business is going to increase what they're doing? Are they going to step up to a higher level? Are you going to hire somebody? All those things you need to budget for. And then how does that affect your bottom line? And there's so many questions to think about ahead of time. But again, if this is organized, if it's set up ahead of time, and things change, because I am sure that people in November 2019 said, hey, I got my 2020 budget all set. And then in March, they went, oh, crap, what are we going to do now?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they had a budget, if they had numbers in place and they had a plan, they can easily adjust those numbers to see what happens in the future. And again, and we did this with some of our clients in March, we did projections. What's going to happen? Okay, you have zero revenue. How many days out can you go with zero revenue?
Yeah.
What about at 50%? What about at 100%? We had clients that were at 50% for April and May, and then we're at 150% for the rest of the year. So, being organized and having those budgets really allow you to invest in your future and allow you to make some really good decisions and to be able to pivot quickly. I know that's like such a big word these days, but knowing what your numbers are, it helps you to make really good decisions on the spot.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, like a pandemic that no one's ever seen in 100 years happens, but because you've put in all the work up front, you can now start to make strategic decisions. Like you mentioned, what if I have no income? What if I have 50%? And you can have a plan for all those different levels. And now, yes, is it still stressful? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not taking that away, but it's less stressful in the fact of, you have a plan for each scenario, and then you just go, you operate, and you make the decisions from there.
Yeah, it's good to have, and that's one of the things that people don't realize, is that when you do pay attention to your finances, you end up having control over them.
Yeah.
And because I think when you ignore them, they have control over you. And that's a very uncomfortable situation. Whereas at least, like you said, we're in a pandemic and it's not a great situation. But if you're in control of your finances, you can make really good decisions in any situation, whether it's a pandemic or a boom in the economy.
Exactly. One question on the strategic decisions for businesses that I want to ask you is, what reporting will help an owner to know the health of their business?
Okay, so anybody that knows me knows my favorite report is the profit and loss by percent of income. It's an easy report. It's in QuickBooks Online. It's like already pre-populated. So even if you don't know anything about accounting, you can go into your QuickBooks file and it's already pre-populated. It is my favorite report because it tells you for every sale, how is the money divvied out? So 20% is going to advertising, 35% is going to payroll wages. And at the end, your net income, you're keeping 10%, 20%, 50%, whatever you're keeping. And it allows you to track that over time. And the thing I like about it, and I actually use this first to create a budget, because if I want to increase my income by 20%, and I know that my payroll is 35%, I know I have to increase that. So if sales go up 20%, my payroll is going to go up 20%. So having those percentages really makes a difference. It also makes a difference when you compare it month over month or quarter over quarter. So one month your payroll might be 35% and then it drops to 32%. And you're like, okay, hold on, what happened here? Why is it less? And then you can investigate it and say like, somebody took 2 weeks vacation or someone left, a part-time person left, but we're still just as productive. What happened there and why? And it allows you to ask questions of your leadership team. And if you're a solopreneur or you have other, like maybe only 2 employees, it helps you to investigate something further. Or the other aspect of it, and this does happen and it always throws us for a loop. Your payroll is all of a sudden 40%. You're like, what? Oh my God, how did that happen? Like, we're so careful. Nobody's salary increased. Oh, it was a month where payroll ran 3 times.
Oh.
It's like, we forget, like, oh yeah, okay, all right, it's okay. It evens out. And that's why sometimes you want to look at it quarterly, because over a quarter, it evens itself out and it kind of takes care of those highs and lows. But profit and loss by percent of income is hands down, I think, one of the most valuable tools a business owner can look at and over time and compare it. And it helps you to make fast decisions to stop any, sometimes we have a spending bleed. And so, it helps you to stop those things. I know there's been times where all of a sudden someone's telephone bill, their cell phone bill went from like $400 to $800. And because we review everybody's financials every month before we send them to them and have those discussions, we were able to say like, hey, why did it increase? And they said, I have no idea.
Wow.
And they ended up reaching out to Verizon, and Verizon said, oops, sorry, we charged you twice.
And they probably would have just automatically paid it, not even thought about it until maybe 6 months later they caught it because they were randomly looking at something.
Yeah, or the year end, they'd be like, that was more than, normal for the whole year.
One of the things, so touching on that, one of the things that Domain's financial controller does that I think would be valuable for businesses to know as well, which is very similar to what you're talking about, is he will budget in, like, all right, I'm going to budget in a new engineer because we're experiencing X amount of growth, and even getting it down to, if we bring on X in new business, that justifies another employee here. Yeah. And proactively thinking about it. Now, if it doesn't happen or we weren't able to hire somebody, now that's obviously, more profit in the bank, but we also have to monitor the health of our organizations and the bandwidth of our employees. So all of those things you're talking about you can really get into the nitty gritty of like, hey, we're really growing, and I don't want to burn out my team as well. At what point, Alyssa, in terms of new revenue, should we be bringing on somebody? And then also what, in a reduction in revenue, when should we be letting people go, to make real decisions, not like, what do we call it? We call it like look and feel versus like actual data, or like I forget what the term we use is, but like, let's stop making these like look and feel decisions versus let's make real decisions based on real data.
Yeah, no, and that is incredibly important for a small business or a big business.
Yep.
It goes across the gamut. It's not like, oh, just small business owners have to think about this. Coca-Cola thinks about this. Like big conglomerates think about it. And they do think about that very minute, how much more in sales do we have to hire another person?
Yep.
And what is the relationship between the two, which is why the profit and loss by percent of income shows you the relationship between sales and all your other expenses that you have. It's really, really valuable and something to look at. And it's something that you need to be able to have someone to talk to about, because it's really hard to talk to your employees about this. But in a bigger company, you would have like a leadership team that you might have this conversation. But in a smaller company, it's hard to find someone to talk to about this.
Exactly. Now let's go to First Steps Financial. What is different about what your company does?
So we are different than a traditional accounting firm in the most obvious ways. We don't file income tax. We have nothing to do with it. We are not tax experts when it comes to income tax. We work hand in hand with your CPA, with your EA, whoever is preparing your tax return. We have a relationship with them because what we do all year long really coincides with what they need to do to prepare the taxes. So that's something that's very different about our firm, is that we really specialize in the business owner. We focus on the business owner, as opposed to traditional accounting firms, which are focused on the tax and income and making sure that you are taking advantage of any of the tax laws.
Yep.
So again, and I highly suggest everybody get a really good CPA, get a really good tax preparer. They should be doing tax planning with you right now. Yep. If your person who prepares your taxes hasn't reached out to you, reach out to them and let them know what you think is going to be for the end of the year. And then, because you can make lots of changes now until December 31st. And then after that, you're kind of stuck. So there's very little you can do. So again, and then we also, what makes us different is we take a deep dive into what your processes are and how things are done in your company. And we don't come in and change things right away. But what we do is we customize them so that you understand them, so that everybody in your team understands them, and it's what's right for you. And then we meet with our clients either monthly or quarterly, and we have these conversations. And I love these conversations because I just had one the other day with one of our clients, and she's like, oh, my kid's going to college next year, and these are my goals, and this is what I want to do. And we just kept going down that path. Like, okay, great. So how do we get here? How do we move so that she goes, I want to be able to take the whole day off and go drop my kid at college and have a good cry and just be, be able to be in the moment and not be thinking about work and not be like, hold on a minute, kids, I got to take this. She's like, I need it to be. So we're like, okay, how do we get you there?
Yeah, that's so awesome, because we have a similar saying, at least when I talk to prospective companies about IT too. It's like, we don't want to just spend all our time in the nitty gritty solving, I'm locked out of my Outlook. Like, we want to get to the fun stuff. Like, and you as a business owner or CFO or COO, you want to get to the fun stuff too about technology. And what I see that exactly how you're explaining it. Like, we don't want to spend our time. Alyssa doesn't want to spend her time all day, every day talking about your receipt for this or your expense for this. You want to get to the fun stuff. How can we plan your college, the future, and everything like that?
And that's what's important to business owners. Because to be honest, if you tell a business owner, your books are reconciled, they don't go, I feel so good now, I can totally sleep. They don't care about that. They actually care about what is going on. Am I making a profit? What is happening? What do the numbers say about what I'm doing? Am I doing the right thing? Is what revenue streams are most profitable for me? Am I staying on budget with the things? Am I making steps towards my goals? So is the marketing plan that we put in place, is there a return on the investment for it? That's what they want to know. They don't care about that nitty gritty. I love it. Get locked out of Outlook.
Yeah, you want to have fun. Let's get to the fun stuff. That's awesome. So we'll end on 2 questions as we come up on time here. So Alyssa, you are a master networker, and that is how we met. I was wondering if there's anybody here in the central New Jersey, Princeton area, or even in the Northeast that you look up to, is a mentor, is a center of influence for you, that you wanted to give a shout out here on the podcast.
All right. So I do. And I have to tell you, it's been my clients who I've learned so much from. They're totally amazing. So Kathy Harris at Harris Allied, she's based in New York City. They are a headhunting firm for tech. And she was like one of my first clients. And she told me the importance of collecting on AR. So when you have an invoice that's due, she would make us call the very next day that it was due. And so she never had anyone be late because they never wanted that phone call. And I was like, wow. And also it really makes a difference when you do something like that, because then it shows your clients that you're organized. Yeah. And so it's not only that you're really good at what you do, you're also very organized. And I thought that made such a huge difference. And then Tara D'Amelia from Telemed, they are a PR firm for, I think, oncology.
Okay.
She's amazing. I met her a couple of years ago. Actually, I've never met her in person, but I work remotely with my clients. But we have talked so much about how to run our businesses, and we run our businesses very similarly. And she's been very inspirational. Glenn Burrell at CMIT of Pennington, also one of my first customers, and he has always pushed me to do more.
That's always awesome.
I mean, you can't, I have the most amazing clients, and I've learned so much from them, and they have been mentors to me. And I guess I've mentored them in the areas that I specialize in. So it's been a beautiful relationship.
That's awesome. We'll make sure to link to everybody here. And the final question is, where can the audience find you? What's the best place to reach out? Where are you guys located on the, we could call it the interwebs?
So anybody can reach out. They can go to our website at firststepsfinancial.com, and there's a contact page there. You can also email me at Alyssa at firststepsfinancial.com. The other thing is too, we always offer a free consultation. A lot of times people, aren't sure, they need to ask some questions. We are so happy to help. Everybody is advanced certified in QuickBooks Online. We specialize in accounting. We have deep knowledge. So even if you just have a question, we're more than happy to answer it.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Alisa McCabe from First Steps Financial. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. It was great seeing you again.
See ya. Thank you.
To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device. To help us get the word out, share with a friend, leave a review, and check out our discussions on the web at go-domain.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.